Liverpool 3, Brighton and Hove Albion 0 in the fifth round of the FA Cup. And following on from a excellent performance midweek at Sunderland, the first time for me this season that Liverpool has put together a good performance in the league for 90 minutes. Could they take that into today's FA Cup clash with Brighton? And let's be honest, Liverpool have struggled with Brighton at times over the last few years, including an FA Cup defeat in 2022 to a late Matoma goal. And the Seagulls may be struggling of late. They're not on the greatest run that they've had, but they are an attractive side watching them to play. And they have a lot of excellent players on their roster. So whilst I understand that the manager, young Fabian Hertzler, is under pressure, I don't think that you can quite argue with some of the things that his team do in terms of their football. But of course, as we know, and Arne Slot has been finding out of late, results are what are paramount in the Premier League, and especially for a club like Liverpool FC. So anyway, the interesting thing was going to be, how would the manager seek to set up the team? And I'm sure that in his mind, he had things like the Crystal Palace Carabao Cup debacle in his mind. And he had last year's FA Cup defeat at Plymouth Argyle also to think about. So what he decided to do in the final analysis, Szoboszlai came back into the side as we all expected after suspension. Kerkez replaced Robertson at left full back. And his other change was to start Curtis Jones and give Ryan Gravenberch a break. Now, one thing that I thought that was interesting was he didn't put Szoboszlai at right full back, but he put Curtis Jones there. And to be truthful, I would be nervous of Curtis Jones playing at right full back, given that Brighton have a couple of players in Matoma and Minte who are very, very strong and tricky wide players. Now, I don't know if Hertzler was rotating as well, and I'm not as familiar with Gomez that was playing on the left up against Curtis Jones. I'm sure he's a good player. Brighton have an excellent record of recruiting players, maybe players who are off the radar from South America and what have you. And was this going to be a risk? And I'd have to say that the game was pretty open for most of the first half. Neither side may be creating much in front of goal early on, but as the half went along, that began to change. And I've got to give a lot of credit to Milos Kerkez. He struggled early in the season. And in a lot of respects, I still feel that Andy Robertson offers more at left full back, even though he's past his peak. And what we've seen in recent weeks is we've seen Kerkez looking a lot more solid defensively. But the one thing perhaps we haven't seen so much is him offering so much in attack. And I think part of the problem for that is, for whatever reason, he and Gakpo don't combine well. Now, that changed today because he was a threat going forward throughout. He had one situation where he got in behind on the left, hit a powerful drive that the goalkeeper had to tip over the bar. And then, of course, Liverpool's first goal. They'd already had the ball in the net with Gakpo narrowly offside from a free kick. But this time there was no mistake with Kerkez, brilliant cross from the left, and Curtis Jones coming in towards the back post was able to cushion it into the net. 1-0 at the interval, and I think overall that Liverpool had deserved that, although they had a couple of wake-up calls just before the half-time whistle, especially when Jones slipped and Gomez appeared to be through. I think if he'd gone for his left foot, maybe he might have had more joy. But of course, I'm assuming his right is stronger, and the longer he held on to it, he wasn't able to get a clean shot away as he was challenged by a Liverpool defender. Now, the start of the second half, Brighton, to their credit, really went for it. As I said earlier, they play good, attractive, attacking football. And they seemed to be getting on top to some degree before the second goal. And yes, there was brilliance in it. Now, Mo Salah, as we all know, has been up and down this season. And I think we've all questioned, myself included, his place in the team. Today, he looked lively early on without really hurting the opposition, but still looking a threat. And then a piece of brilliance from him, taking a long field cross ball, cushioning it into the run of Dominic Szoboszlai, and Szoboszlai's finish was comprehensive. 2-0 to Liverpool, and then things were looking really rosy for the Reds. So Brighton continued to go forward, and obviously this kind of game suits Liverpool. As we've said many times before, the teams that sit in, that makes it difficult for Liverpool. But what I've seen against Sunderland, and which I saw again today, was Liverpool was so much more positive going forward. And I think that that's what we want to see as Liverpool fans. The third goal came in the shape of a Mo Salah penalty. He showed some brilliance again, beating his man, actually knocking him over to get into the area before he was tripped. And then comprehensively stuck the penalty kick away. 3-0 to Liverpool. And so the fifth round beckons for the Reds. Now, good performance overall. But I think one of the things that the manager, Arne Slot, has to take into account is how he manages his squad. We've highlighted before that he's not the greatest when it comes to rotating. And again, we saw him a little bit reluctant to send on substitutes today. And I think over the long haul, that if he survives this season, this is something he's really got to think about if he's going to have a long career at Liverpool Football Club. And Mamardashvili, everyone expected Mamardashvili, a well-established international goalkeeper with Georgia, and a big buy for Liverpool and potentially the Reds' future goalkeeper. He was expected to start today, but he didn't. Now, I'm sure that many Liverpool fans will say, well, good. Play your best goalkeeper if you're serious about winning the cup. But there's a downside to it. And the downside is team harmony, keeping players involved, giving them some confidence. And should Mamardashvili have played today? That's the only question I would ask. And cast your minds back to when Jurgen was in charge of the club. And in the early days when he would throw Kelleher into the team, when it got to the later rounds, people were wanting him to put Alisson back in goal. But no, Jurgen stuck with Kelleher, gave him the confidence, gave him the belief, and it worked out well for him. And okay, he never became Liverpool's first choice goalkeeper, but harmony was kept within the squad. Players were given some sense of belief. And whenever he was called upon to come in, everybody knew he could do a job because he'd helped Liverpool to a trophy. So I think something that Arne has to be thinking of longer term is how he creates something similar with this squad. Because one of the reasons why the team did so well last year was because of the team spirit that he inherited. And I think he has to create his own if he's going to maintain his job at Liverpool. But anyway, that's it for today. Liverpool have a break, 8 days until they go to Nottingham Forest. Again, who've been a bit of a bogey team for the Reds. So let's see what happens. Let's see how he brings the squad together, because I think it'll be a challenging game given that Nottingham Forest have yet again changed their manager. So I'd love to get your opinions. If you have any thoughts about the game, feel free to make a comment. Love to have you subscribe, because we're trying to make the show grow. And we will see you next time. You'll never walk alone, everyone. Bye now.